second time, but I'm thinking you're ashamed. Now you said it's fair of you to feel that what we had was real, but it's fair of me to free you from that notion. And if your metaphor rings true, I'll defer to you, but we can't stay this way for too long. We're dealing with an absent mind, only one of us at the table. Absent mind, one saved and the other the savior. Absent mind, oh it's long gone. Absent mind.
Hey, hope everybody's doing all right as always. It is a beautiful day here in Omaha, Nebraska, and I wanted to take a little bit of time to discuss the idea of small camera work, why I think every photographer should carry a camera on them. And there's been a lot of videos made about this topic, but it's just been something that has been prominent in my photography over the last, call it 3 to 4 months, and something that I wanted to share with you guys. So the small cameras, I have two that I usually carry with me are the Leica M4, as you guys have heard plenty about this camera, and will continue to hear from me about that. And with that, I usually shoot Portra 800, and then also the Leica M9. So it just depends. Do I want digital where I can get to the images quick? Do I want to shoot film? It's a different experience, but both cameras are pretty much the same. They're about the size of an iPhone, a little heavier, but super easy to just throw over your shoulder, take it in the car with you. And for the past year or so, I've made it my goal to have a camera on me at all times. So I don't always do that, so I know I'm kind of failing at the goal, but that's at least the intention. Sometimes, I'm just going to the store or whatever, but even that, sometimes there's interesting stuff. I've taken pictures inside of grocery stores, certain ways that shelves are set up. I don't know. There's always an interesting opportunity for a photo. So my thinking on carrying the small camera revolves around this idea that when you have a camera on you at all times, the entire world opens up to you, and everything is suddenly a little bit more interesting. Maybe it's the way light is hitting an object. Maybe it's just the way that two objects are sitting beside each other in an unusual way, or you see somebody who looks kind of different. I think all of these things kind of open themselves up to you when you have a camera on you. Now, if you're anything like me, your journey as a photographer has probably looked something like this. You discover photography, maybe from a parent introducing you or a friend introducing you, or maybe you just see other people's work and you say, hey, I want to try that. And you start off with a camera that's pretty all-purpose. For me, that was a Canon T something, and kit lens, standard, and you walk out and you take pictures of everything you can find, and everything's interesting. When you're new to photography, the entire world is interesting because you really haven't built that callus to, I know people don't like these images or this type of image, or I'm this genre of photographer, or I only shoot this. You haven't kind of established that identity yet. And I think that identity can be a little bit dangerous. And when you're new and everything's interesting because you're still trying to figure out what that identity is, that's when photography is at its purest and most pleasant, in my opinion. I also think some of the photos that come from that state of mind are the most interesting. You start out and you start shooting, and you shoot that cheap camera or whatever, and then you start to specialize, and you get a little bit, I shoot portraits, I shoot lifestyle, I shoot this, I shoot that. You start to specialize a little bit, and usually you'll specialize your gear as well. And sometimes that involves bigger gear, getting gear that's very specific, and that you only break out when it's time to use that for a particular project or something along those lines. Now, this is great, and I'm all for developing, your personal style and things like that. But I think this is dangerous because you are almost boxing yourself in to an art form that can be absolutely limitless. You're building limits on yourself. And when you have a small camera, you can really start to remove those limits. If you're anything like me, once you get a bigger camera setup that maybe you use for specific commercial work or editorial work, or maybe you shoot weddings or something like that, the experience I've had and a lot of people that I know have had is they get that camera setup and they never take it out unless they're working. And then you start to build this association between photography and work, and that's it. And something that really can help you break out of that mindset is getting a smaller camera and just taking it with you at all times. Whenever you see something that's interesting, even in the slightest, just take a picture of it. Worry about the results later. Get your picture, and then you can sit down with it and edit through your images a little bit later. And I think it's a very free way to operate. When I started, carrying a camera with me at all times, I really started to just enjoy photography a lot more. And some of the images I've gotten that have been my favorite images have just come from having a camera on me at a particular time. Something you don't never know when you're going to get that inspiration, Maybe it's a combination of a particular song you heard and then a face that you saw and a color of a wall off to the side. And you're sitting in a restaurant and you're eating dinner, and the combination of all these things inspires something in your mind and an idea sparks. And then you write that down immediately. And that's an idea that you may have never been able to come up with without those very specific stimulants kind of pushing you forward. Okay, hey, here's this. There's certain shots that you have that you're never going to sit down and conceptualize. You're going to have to go out and open yourself up to the universe, open yourself up to the world, and let them present themselves to you. And then if you have a device that can capture it, then boom, you have that forever. And it doesn't matter what happens after that point. So I would really recommend to anybody out there who might be feeling a little stifled or a little boxed in with photography to start carrying a camera with you. I love the Leicas. I think they're great, but there's also Fuji. They make great portable cameras. I know Ricoh makes a great small camera, and there's nothing wrong with the iPhone if that's, the camera of your choice. I really think it's worthwhile to start trying to experience the world like that, because it really does open up new doors and new possibilities and can really help push you through creative blocks in your work. Anyways, let me know if you guys have any similar experiences. I would love to hear stories or just how you've been inspired by the spontaneous. Something happens that was not expected. I think that's wonderful. That's the purest form of photography, is when it's truly spontaneous and truly you're not overthinking it. You're not over intellectualizing the process. You're just reacting and you're taking a photo. That's the purest and most beautiful form of photography in my mind. The two projects that I'd recommend checking out that I think there's plenty, obviously there's a lot of people that carry cameras around with them and get moments, but Small Camera Works by Stephen Shore is a big one. And then William Eggleston's Guide. Now, these are not like groundbreaking recommendations for sure. They're pretty well known, but they're both done on a small camera, and it's trying to capture the spirit of that spontaneity in photography. So definitely, if you get a chance, check those out. Just give it a Google, and take your camera out. Try to find a small camera, and just keep it on you at all times, and see what comes out of it. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, and as always, hope you're doing well, and I'll talk to you soon.
I just just wanted to take a minute to say thank you so much to everybody who's subscribed over the last couple of months. I really cannot express my appreciation enough. I hope that getting on here and creating valuable content for you guys are things that you can find value in. That's my goal. So I hope I can continue to do that. And thank you so much for the support on the back end. Can't wait to talk to you guys soon.